Hi everyone, you made it. This is the last session of Quantum Eastern Europe, and if you're still here, thank you very much. So it's a pleasure for me to talk about careers in quantum, which is, I think, a very hot, I would say, hot topic at the moment everywhere. Everybody's talking about education, skills, workforce. It's a pleasure for me to be not alone presenting today, but I have Deborah from VTT and IQM. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
And I have Jay from Qblox, one of our sponsors today. So let's start by me telling you a lot of things, and then let's dive up into the discussion. So Debbie, Jay, see you in a while. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about the overview of careers in quantum. I have seen that in the last session there were several questions, so I hope that we can answer those questions in this session. If you don't see my slides, let me know now. I just see my slide now, so I hope that is fine. So careers in quantum in general. We know that the future is quantum. We have seen this over these 2 days because everybody's talking about quantum technologies, an emerging market that is going to be revolutionizing our entire ecosystem and our entire society. We have seen that it's not just quantum computing, but we have communication, simulation, sensors. We have really a new ecosystem that is flourishing. And what we know is that there is a global effort. We have seen in the discussions today from Europe that there is the European quantum flagship, that we have national initiatives in different countries around Europe and all over the world. So we are talking about really a global effort. We are talking about a lot of public funding on quantum overall. We are talking about almost $30 billion just from public funding. That's really a lot of money. And this means that there is an opportunity here. And what it means is that all this ecosystem that is emerging, we need people who are going to be part of it. We need people who are going to take the job of this new market that is emerging. So when we think about the companies per region, per continent, it's everywhere. And that's a very good thing to see. It's not like, everything is in US. If you want to work in quantum, you need to go to the US. No, we have seen in the last 2 days there is a very, very good research going on in Eastern Europe and in Europe. There are startups all over the continent. So there are opportunities everywhere. The question is, once now you go into different countries, into the different technologies, where can you find those jobs? But it's true, if we look a little bit more in detail, in Europe, there are startups all over the continent. And it's true, there are some countries where there are more startups, they are more focused on hardware development, and maybe they need more funding to develop their products. But what is important, and we have heard this today as well, you can have a startup that doesn't need so much funding at the very beginning, because you don't need to develop a device. You are working on algorithms, and if you have the skills and you have the know-how, and then you put on top the support from, for example, specific institutions or some public funding, then you can actually emerge and have your startup. And we have seen those means today in the different discussions. Now, if we think about the whole ecosystem, the clear message that I have been hearing over and over again when we talk about quantum technologies, not the fundamental science, but the next step from going from the academia to this emerging industry, is awareness. Just people don't understand quantum. It's still there. If we are thinking about scientists that would like to develop something that is going to be commercially available, how can they talk to investors? How can the investors understand what the technology is all about? How can these startups go to industry and the end users and the people who are going to use this technology and tell them this is what you need? If we still think that this is an emerging market that is not going to come until in 10, 20 years, how can you convince government that you need to put money on it? We have heard from the European flagship, it took, 10, 20 years to convince the European Commission that it was time to put money into that for commercialization of the technology. And then the general public and the hype. This is something that we have heard a lot as well in the last 2 days. There is a lot of hype, and we need to be realistic when we talk about the technology. So yeah, quantum technologies is a very hot word that people are using nowadays, but we need to understand really how the market is emerging, where we are and where we are going. So our role there, when we think about all this new ecosystem, we try to figure out the different gaps. And it's clear there is a gap between the academia and the industry. Everybody understands that. But there is also the gap between all the other stakeholders in the community. And this is our goal at QURECA. QURECA means quantum resources and careers. And we really focus on creating this common language to make everyone ready for quantum and to create value and to create impact. We want everyone to be understanding what is quantum, understanding the value of quantum dependence on who you are, and understand how this market works. Trying to be honest with ourselves and not in a hype modus. So what do we offer? We offer different kind of services. We work with quantum startups all over the world in business development activities, anything that anyone will need to grow the business. I can tell you, we work with people just with very good ideas that they don't know how to start a startup, to very consolidated businesses that they just want to grow maybe in other parts of the globe. So we are doing a little bit of everything to grow the ecosystem. But we also work with the other side of the spectrum, with end users and the people who should use this technology, corporations, example, banks or pharma companies. If they are not in quantum, they need this awareness. If they are already in quantum, what is the strategy that they need to follow? Maybe there is a quantum startup that could work with them in a specific use case. Our role is kind of bringing everyone together and trying to develop the next step into this strategy. And of course, our focus is in training and resourcing and everything what has to do about skills, the workforce, and the development of the market. And you know this because every time that there is something about the quantum workforce, we are trying to be there because this is really our focus. We are trying to develop quantum leaders. We work with individuals in terms of understanding the training needs, but we also work with companies understanding their training needs. This awareness. If there is a bank and they are new to quantum, you cannot go directly and say, I can work with you in a specific use cases for, I don't know, the trading or anything about risk, if they have no idea what quantum is. So first is understanding the awareness phase, and then it's the application, the strategic phase. And we are part of this journey with different employers and different companies. These companies are also looking for talent. And that's the next step, where we are working with quantum companies that are looking for talent now, but also with these emerging quantum companies or corporations that are new in quantum that are looking to hire in the future. So our USP is really understanding the ecosystem, bringing that expertise, and develop the workforce. And it's true that this is really everywhere at the moment. Everybody is talking about how the talent is very scarce. It's difficult to find talent. That we have been hearing just before about diversity. It's true that diversity is one thing that a lot of companies are really thinking about. But imagine if you already have small pool of talent. So if you don't have many candidates and you need to look between these candidates to have diversity in your team, it's just very, very difficult. And this is what is happening now. What about the future? Because again, this is an emerging market. We are just starting now. We have more and more startups that are starting to flourish, that are putting investment. They are growing. So at one point, they are going to hire a lot. So if you don't have the people that are going to be ready for those jobs, how are we going to sustain the market? So what we have done is really making an estimation, a forecast about this job market. And what we see is, yes, it's growing steadily in the next years. So we know that we need more people to be part of this job market. But what we have seen is that really it's going to be exponential. Once we have actual quantum computers, that is going to be the revolution. Because then you need a lot of people that are going to be working on the quantum computers and using the quantum computers and understanding how to apply what they are doing in quantum computers. We need that job market in 20 years. And the only way to be able to do that is to train people that in 20 years are going to be part of the job market, which means people are now in schools. They are in primary schools, in high school. But how can you go to a primary school now and say you need to learn quantum if the teacher has no idea about quantum? So you see there are so many gaps in order to develop this new. And we are trying our best to figure out what else we can do. And one of the things is, of course, also thinking about regions. Where are the regions where maybe we need to create more awareness, where there could be this talent pool that we were talking about, but they just don't know where to look for jobs. Hence the creation of this event, Quantum Eastern Europe. We have Quantum Latino that it was very successful last year. So it's really about trying to push together this global market. And then if we think about now, the question, we know about the future, it's gonna be hard, but now, are companies recruiting now? Yes. We have seen that there are companies all over the world. There are companies recruiting all over the world. It's true that a lot of companies are still in the very early phases, and we have seen in the startups panel that there are some startups that they are just in seed funding, they are just starting. Again, this is gonna grow. But nowadays, there are companies that are looking to hire the talent, and it's hard to find the talent. Who are some of these companies? Here you have just a bunch. There are many, many other companies that are looking to hire. And here we have in the panel, we have IQM and Qblox, just 2 examples of companies that are looking to hire. They will share their opinions on how to find this talent. If we think about the activities, one thing is the technology. So yeah, we have quantum computing, we have sensing, but then it's the activities of companies in quantum. We have really a lot of different activities. We have been trying to figure out how to divide all the different activities, and we have a lot of graphs, but I'm not going to share this today. It's important that you don't only need to work in quantum computing, and I really say this a lot because a lot of people are coming to me and say, I'm an experimental physicist and I would like to work in quantum computing, so I'm learning programming. And I'm like, you are an experimental. You could work already in a lot of quantum companies. Why are you learning programming? Because I think that that's the only way that I can work in quantum. So there is a misconception on how the market in terms of roles and the job market is at the moment. So we have quantum computing, hardware companies. We have quantum computing software companies. We have quantum computing kind of end-to-end solutions. But we have sensors. We have communication. We also have enabling technologies. We have laser companies, cryogenics. What Qblox is doing, examples of something that maybe they are not the kind of activities that you would imagine at the first instance, but they are really part of this emerging quantum technologies ecosystem, and they are looking to hire. So it's more about understanding your skills and how they can be applied in the market. So if we think about technical skills, everybody thinks the first is, I need a PhD in quantum. Yes, and we are going to discuss about that. But the question is, do you really need a PhD in quantum computing to be part of the quantum technologies ecosystem? The truth is that what you need is a variety of skills, depends on the company and depends on the role. So sometimes if you look at all what is highlighted here, a chemist, a computer science engineer, or even a mathematician, they have the skills to be part of it, because what they have been doing is directly applicable to what the role requires. But of course, there are some roles that they are still so much specialized. Remember, we are emerging, that you will need a PhD in order to be able to apply your skills. But this is going to be changing. And what is important is that, for example, if you are an electronic engineer that have been working in another market for a couple of years, you have been working with PCBs or FPGAs, you could work now in a quantum company. You don't need to learn programming in quantum, unless that's what you want to do. It's more about understanding how your skills can be part of, again, this huge market that is developing. And at the end, we are having a new role, a new field that is emerging right now, that is quantum engineering. And I don't think there is a consensus on what quantum engineering means at the moment. It's really all this mix of different skills, and it will really depend a lot on, at the end, what you want to do. And that's why there are a lot of education programs, masters, that are now being created in order to develop this emerging field. Another important thing is not only technical skills are important. And I always give this example, if I have a person, 2 people with 2 CVs, they have been doing excellent research, or they have excellent background in whatever, what is going to be standing out one from the other is the rest of things, right? If you can show that you have made an internship, that you have been part of outreach activities, that you have been doing something in business, anything that is different, that is going to be very, very important, because then the future or potential employer knows that you already know a little bit about business. You already know about working in a team. If they just see 100% scientist that, yes, it's a very good PhD, very nice publications, what else? Then probably in the first interview, they will ask you about other things. So think about these other soft skills that you can add to your CV, and I'm sure that you have them. It's really about trying to translate what you have done into these skills. And something very, very important is that not only technical positions are available, you can work in quantum not doing quantum. And we have heard from Thomas, he's working in a quantum startup, and he has no background in quantum, but he's doing all the project management. Even if you have a technical background, maybe you would like to work in sales. And I give you another example from a person who was a researcher for several years, and this person wanted to work in something completely different within the quantum ecosystem, but nothing technical. So there are options. It's more about understanding your skills and what you want to do. So a little bit more about us. If you're coming to our website, this is what you will find. A lot of information out there. So if you go to services, you will find more about all the different services that we provide in training, more about our online courses and all the trainings. And on resources, a lot of things. We are going to redirect you to other resources to learn quantum, games, the flagship quantum education group, anything that we have found that we think that is useful for anyone who wants to learn about quantum. And then a little bit more in detail, we have online courses. We have now 4 online courses that you can take at different levels: awareness, middle ground, more applications for finance. We are working with other companies who are developing their training with us, like Zapata Computing. We work with other companies in developing tailored packages and workshops. So again, it's a lot about awareness and then going into specific paths. We have recruitment as a service. We organize career events. We are part of different tutorials and conferences to tell you more about how to improve your CV. What are the chances if you are looking for a job in quantum? Where can you find education? All this career advice we provided. So if you want answer to those questions, you can come to us. I mentioned the professional services, and of course, a lot of community building. And this is what we are doing these days with Quantum Eastern Europe. It's about where are the gaps within the ecosystem and how can we help. Now, do you want to get a job? Well, let's start by discussing the ecosystem. Thank you. Any questions, please come to us. We are really available for you anytime. Send us an email. You can go to the booth and just click there. Any questions is welcome. Thank you. Okay. So I'm gonna call Jay and Deborah to the stage now. Hi.
Hi, thank you, Araceli.
No problem. So let's start by introducing yourself. I want to know your journey. We are talking about careers, so I want to know about your career. This is a surprise question. I didn't say this to you before, but I want to learn how you end up what you're doing, how your career developed, and how this could reflect in some of the people in the audience today. Debbie, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm originally from Mexico and I'm living in Finland now. I was discouraged as a young person from pursuing a career in science, specifically in physics, which led me to leave Mexico and really kind of find a unique path, because I was traditionally attracted to mathematics and physics, but I also like communicating a lot and explaining things. So many years of effort and hard work led me to get a PhD in physics at Stanford University in the US. And then I did postdoctoral fellowships and was teaching at Columbia University and NYU in applied math and physics, working in quantum related topics. And then I worked I pivoted more than I can count on. I was leading an AI and machine learning company in New York for the past 6 years. And I did finance as well. They call us quants, so physicists that try to solve equations in the market. And then I moved to Finland because of an opportunity that was called the 90-Day Fin program exactly a year ago, I think 2 days ago, 1 year back. And I have a job at VTT as a lead scientist in quantum computing. And I also help IQM, which I'm here representing. I'm a business development consultant for IQM. And, the two are sort of married to each other in the sense that VTT has clean room facilities and IQM delivered the first quantum computer, which now sits at VTT in all of Finland.
Thanks, amazing. I wanted you to share that journey with the audience. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Araceli. Nice to meet you, Deborah, and thanks for having us here as well. So I'm originally from Sri Lanka. So similar story to Deborah, but I do not have a PhD. I'm a mechatronics engineer from the UK, and since doing my bachelor's in mechatronics, I've been in commercial roles since being here at Qblox, and that strived from a master's in management also in the UK as well. And I've dabbled in corporate and startup companies over the past 10 years of my career. And I will I was just thinking about what Deborah said and how to match the story, but I think it's quite simple from that manner. But I'll maybe share a little bit about Qblox. At Qblox, we are a company from Delft. We make control electronics to control quantum computers, not just superconducting and spin qubits, but also on the optical front, so NV centers, etc. IQM, for example, is one of our customers, and we're looking forward to really growing the quantum ecosystem in the Netherlands and potentially achieving quantum advantage in the future.
Awesome, thanks. No, I think your career is also. You see, you're working in quantum, and you had nothing to do with quantum in the past.
That is true. I'm not a physicist.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So yes, right place at the right time.
Correct. So I guess let's start by. So you have heard this bottleneck, skills bottleneck, or talent shortage, whatever you fancy more, that is currently happening. And I know this because I'm working with a lot of companies that it's hard to find the right talent. How does Qblox and IQM and VTT to address the current bottleneck, Jay?
Yeah.
Sure. Indeed, there is a big bottleneck. Qblox employs a variety of individuals, from physicists to designers to software engineers. We have a growing team of about 25 people right now, and we hope to grow that much further in the future. But in terms of the bottlenecks, I wrote down some points of how we tackling that, and that is primarily what we do is use our network. We are connected with QTech in Delft, which is quite a big, it's one of the biggest quantum initiatives in Europe. And through that network, we've been able to reach out and find suitable individuals. We're also looking to hire candidates who are looking for roles which could potentially lead to 3 to 5 years. So not roles or not candidates which would look for a quick turnover. And during our interview process, we basically strive to make sure that we are picking the right candidates because we burnt our fingers otherwise.
Thanks. Debbie?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. That's illuminating. I gotta say, I don't know the statistics in Europe very well yet, because I don't know who takes this kind of data for all of continental Europe, and I know UK and US, but I was just checking in LinkedIn an hour ago, and if you put quantum jobs, you get almost 12,000 entries. Now, not all of them are in quantum. Some just use the word quantum and it's something completely different, but let's say about 10,000 jobs, right? And then I look at the statistics of how many PhDs in physics graduate, and I know that in the US alone it's only about 2,000 per year, and in the UK I think it's about 1,000, and I don't know, let's estimate continental Europe maybe 3,000-4,000, something like that. I mean, just those two numbers, right, show you what a huge talent gap exists out there, because the demand for jobs is enormous. And so I think what companies are taking the initiative to do is to train or upskill current people in the workforce. So you don't have to be, like Araceli says, an expert. If you're a physicist, you don't have to be a quantum physicist by background. You don't have to be a quantum engineer. You could be an electrical engineer and work on the signal processing part. And so I know that at IQM, for example, we are in the race for getting clients and for selling our quantum computers. And so before the hiring gets fancier and can accommodate like all kinds of backgrounds, I think a lot of companies are now focusing on what can get me to the most optimal quantum computer and quantum advantage, so to speak, even though I don't like that term, but what can get us there fastest. And for now, I think there are a lot of very focused jobs in this kind of engineering and this kind of thing. But there also, for example, at IQM, we need a technical writer, somebody that's actually going to take the notes and write all the documentation of exactly what the process is to build the quantum computer. And, I just want to say that I do envision the future in the next 5 to 10 years having tons of more sort of interfacing job descriptions that are, in between art and communication of quantum computing, the gaming industry and quantum computers, and so a lot more backgrounds are going to come into place. So we need to start preparing the job market for that. But for now, I think almost everybody that I've seen on LinkedIn is looking for very specific and kind of narrowly defined jobs.
Correct. And that leads me to the other question. Do you think that you still need to have a PhD to work in quantum? And I'm going to tell you that what I see is that I think companies in general, as you said, they need to develop fast what you're doing. And I'm doing the recruitment in this case for a lot of companies, and you know how hard it is to find. And I think people are starting to realize that they are wanted. So they are just like, everybody wants me. So they are also aware that they are worth. See, if you put all this together, then things become even more difficult. So Jay, can you share any of your experiences in these terms? So I know that most of the roles that you have require probably PhD or higher education, but do you think, how is it now, and do you think that this is going to evolve in the next years?
It's a good question. To be honest, majority of our open roles, and we have about 10 plus open roles right now at Qblox, do not require a PhD. So if you look at the application side of our company, which is the sales and support teams, we have application engineers who are bachelor's and master students or individuals. And then we have application scientists who are a more senior role, which is PhD holding individuals. And then we have the R&D team, which is a variety of electrical engineers, digital design engineers, software engineers. And of course, on the commercial side, we have our designers do not have any experience in physics or science or engineering, but they're still designing some amazing technology, as you see behind us. So I think it comes down to finding the right people to match your company culture, match where you want to go. And those are the X factor criteria which we strive to meet. And of course, finding individuals who have PhDs, etc., are not that easy. And us being close to QTech does help. But it is still it's a difficult slope to go up.
Thanks. I think in Finland you have a similar ecosystem with VTT that you're trying to. So you have talent, but you're trying to attract talent as well. How is that? Can you share anything on that, Debbie?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of half and half. If you look at IQM's career website, and I actually put it on the chat here for you guys to look at it, I would say some jobs like quantum engineering, for example, to do the experiments does require a PhD, but then there are many others like software and whatnot that don't require a PhD. Experience and some background in the topic helps, but honestly, these days, I saw the industry, for example, of machine learning and AI mature. And when I started looking at that industry maybe 20 years ago, it was pretty clear that you needed to be an expert and a PhD and all that. But then slowly, other job openings started populating the industry, and there's so many jobs that now you can have an undergraduate degree and just know how to interpret some of the analytics platforms that exist out there, and you become a valuable member of a company. So I think the same thing is going to happen. And at IQM, I think we focus more on the right talent, and you have what it takes to be a part of this ambitious company in quantum.
You both mentioned culture, and I think that's a very clear thing. And we just have a panel on diversity. I need to mention this because, again, it's hard. It's hard to have diversity in quantum, but clearly it's something that thrives any company. You can see the difference. I can tell you. So I wanted to share with you. So we have published. It's now on the archive, but it's going to be published, I think, by the end of this month. A paper where we have researched the job market. I think we had like 800 quantum jobs where people were looking from anything, like very specialized roles to business development, marketing, etc. But in quantum companies, what we have seen is that in the US, people hire more bachelors with experience or masters. And then if you come to Europe, at the end, they are looking more for PhDs, or at the end, they hire more PhDs. Why do you think is this? You said that the jobs that you have now, both of you said they don't require a PhD. But if a person, and I'm telling you this because a lot of people are going to come to me saying, I have a bachelor in whatever with no experience in industry, what are the chances that these people can end up working in your companies? Or for you, it's like either a PhD or a person with a bachelor and industry experience. And I want you to share this because it's really crucial. Any thoughts, Debbie?
I do know that at VTT, we are employing people with only a bachelor's and great interest in the field as interns. So they come first, and many of them, get an intern salary and all that, and they get they have a trial period. We also have at IQM, internships and whatnot. But you are right. I mean, like I said, right now everybody's trying to get there very fast. So the focus is on who can get me faster. And of course, if you have the choice to hire a much more experienced person with a master's or a PhD, I think right now a lot of companies are looking for that. That's not to say that we wouldn't hire somebody who has great interest in the field.
Jay, how is at Qblox?
So we indeed have internships as well. And those internships are for the individuals who are predominantly still in university. So internship projects which last 3 to 6 months, depending on the project. And it works two ways, where we would find good candidates and try to figure out a project which we can do together, or if we have a project which we want to be done. For example, today we just pushed out a new internship for an intern in the quantum internet team. So Qblox is working with the Quantum Internet Alliance, and we are looking to have an intern who can join that project, and that would be like a 3-month project. But on the other hand, it comes down to whether you want to find A people or B people, and without that experience, it's difficult. And we want to find people or team members who can join our company and then take the ball and go with it, and not to be where I don't need to teach them how things are being done. I'd rather be able for them to teach me, where they can bring value to us, and that's where the experience really does bring a lot of value. And so, in other words, no, we are looking for master's students, master's individuals, bachelor individuals who have experience. And if you have a PhD, then straight out of the group is fine. But yeah, that's the sad truth.
Yeah. So according to the paper, everything is correct. So what about the future? What is the strategy? Because this is what is now, but I don't think we're going to have more PhDs in 10 years from now, to be honest. So it's not going to be from the 2,000 that you mentioned, Debbie. I don't think we're going to have 20,000. So what is the strategy? Are you going to upskill within the company? Because again, you're focusing on developing your products. You don't have time to train. And this is what I heard. And you have mentioned this. So how would you think about the future in terms of a strategy to have the right talent?
My prediction is that the training will be outsourced. So very much like you have a lot of coding boot camps that provide employees to, huge industries, we're going to have quantum boot camps and quantum.
Debbie, we lost your connection.
I think maybe
you can jump in. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we've lost Debbie, unfortunately. So on the Qblox side, we have a different approach. We double our team capacity every year. So now we are 25 people, and by 2024, we expect to be at 100. Yeah. So this is where the government does really also support us. So, for example, Quantum Delta, which is the Dutch government institution, and they've received about 615 million euros from the Dutch government. They have an initiative to grow by 2035, 15,000 jobs in quantum, just from the Netherlands. So to give you, I have some statistics with me here, so I'll just dump it on y'all, which is in 2020, they had 600 jobs in quantum with 7 startups and industry, of course. By 2027, they want to grow those 600 jobs to 8,000 jobs with 100 startups backed by the Dutch government. And then 2035, so another 7 years or plus onwards, is 15,000 jobs. So, and that's with 175 startups. So, yeah, it comes down to your not network, but it comes down to your support system. And the Dutch government, German government, Indian government, for example, they're really putting a lot of money behind this sector, this ecosystem, and with the hope that there will be a lot of direct and indirect jobs which come out from it. And by 2035, 15,000 jobs in quantum. That's a big number.
I think that's amazing, and thank you for sharing those statistics, Jay, because kudos to the Netherlands for taking that initiative, because I completely agree that it needs to come with a huge investment to create that jobs in the market. And I don't know if I got caught before I said this earlier, but I think the training will be outsourced, and there will be boot camps and other sort of quicker 6-month programs that will upskill undergraduate degrees in math, even economics, statistics, whatnot, into quantum software programming, and then they will supply that chain. That's the fastest, I think. The upskilling is the fastest route to getting to the demand that we need.
Thank you, because it means that Kureka is doing the right job, and also that actually the graph that I showed you before is actually in the right direction. Thanks. It's nice to know that. Everybody's talking about education, and I need to touch this because you were discussing this. But then it's hard to find funding for that because, again, it's like commercialization, that's the first thing. But if we don't have any fundings to focus on education, then we don't have the talent that is going to be ready in 20 years. So everything is kind of very hard. But so we have ecosystems where, we are focused on that and we know how to develop. They are very regional. Here we are in Quantum Eastern Europe. So have you just give a thought on how we could do this in emerging regions like Eastern Europe, or like we have Quantum Latino in Latin America? What do we do? Because there are a lot of people, they are coming to me from a lot of different countries with amazing PhDs or amazing CVs. They cannot be hired just because they are from X country, or, it's not easy. So how do you see this movement of talent? Do you think that is restrictive, or you think that there is a place for everyone? What is your experience, Jay?
It's a difficult question. So I'm an immigrant, and I moved to the Netherlands on a type of visa which gave me 12 months to find work. But I actually used that visa to start my own company. Then I moved to the startup visa. Then I moved to the self-employment visa, and now I'm on the highly skilled immigrant visa. So what I'm trying to say is the Dutch government, in my opinion, and I come from a country where the passport is really bad. It's worse than the North Korean passport, apparently. Yeah, the Sri Lankan passport. Yes, check it out. But the Dutch government really opened my eyes on how immigration can be done correctly. So it comes down to how the politicians, how the governments, all of that work together in the Eastern European countries. Because if they allocate funds, etc., away from military, for example, and more onto quantum, that's that is it's goes from the grassroots levels, and the government needs to push that.
Amazing to hear. Debbie, how is
I'm a big believer in startups and starting your own company, and as small as it is, a great example is Estonia, for a very small country here in Eastern Europe, with a ratio of startups to the population that is just gigantic. And just be good, focus on what you want to do, and you may not have the resources. Hey, I come from Mexico, and we had to create companies, and you may not be able to run a hardware company out of an area that's deprived of funding, but you are able to run an education company, a consulting company, etc. And so you look to partner. Nowadays, a lot of conferences are online. With social media, you have access to pretty much experts around the world. So just do that, and then you can partner with the greatest companies. You can be bought by other companies and have a quick exit. So there's just so much opportunity. You just need an internet connection, be smart, surround yourself with very intelligent and ambitious people, and I think a lot can be done.
I think you're telling us Araceli's story.
Yes.
So in other words, Araceli, Qureka should have more competitors. I think that's the.
Yes.
Thanks for that feedback. I think we are out of time, but this is the end. So I just want you to share one more. I think the last quote was really good, but just one more quote, one more message to the community out there, and then I will close the conference. So who wants to start? Debbie?
That's a hard, a quote I want to share has to do with diversity, because in my experience, we do have a very big problem. Just seeing every quantum conference I see out there, not talking about this one, but a lot of them, you see panels and panels of white midlife men. And we need people of all colors, backgrounds, and women, and it saddens me. So my quote will be for those minority people out there that are thinking like, I don't fit in the world of quantum. And you do fit. We need you. And my quote is, don't let anybody ever tell you that you don't fit in this world, because you are exactly what quantum needs right now. We need your perspective, your values, and your skills to bring quantum advantage and the future of quantum to life.
That's really nice.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I cannot. I cannot.
You need to.
That's great, but I'd just like to mention that from our side, we are also looking for individuals who are not physicists. So we have marketing positions and commercial positions open, and it's a shameless pun, but yes, if there are individuals out there from Eastern Europe who would love to join Qblox, please do reach out to us. And thank you for joining the conference, and thank you for having us, Araceli.
Thank you. So I think this is the end. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Debbie. I'm going to close the conference. You know how many days and nights we have spent on this. It has been really, really a lot of work. But first, I want to thank the organizers. I want to thank Andras, Auren, and Sultan. You did it. It was really, really good. I think everybody's happy with the conference. So thanks a lot for your support. I want to thank my team, Ludovic and Maninder, they have spent as many hours as me or more. Thanks, guys. You did it. Thanks the rest of the team. And thanks, everyone, the speakers, the sponsors, and everyone who attended the conference. This is Quantum Eastern Europe 2022. Let's see what happens next year, maybe in person. But there is space in quantum for everyone. It's just, yeah, David mentioned there are opportunities out there. Just ask. We are there to help you find your career, your path in quantum. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day and wonderful weekend, and see you soon. Bye.